I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything except my faith. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Without consistency, you'll never finish. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You've got to take risks, and I'm sure you've probably heard that before, but I want to talk to you about why that's so important. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. There's no doubt about it. And I know that's probably not a traditional message for a graduation ceremony, but hey, I'm telling you, embrace it, because it's inevitable. In the acting business, you fail all the time. Early on in my career, I auditioned for a part in a Broadway musical. Perfect role for me, I thought, except for the fact that I can't sing. I didn't get the job. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I didn't fall back. I walked out of there to prepare for the next audition, and the next audition, and the next audition. I prayed. I prayed, and I prayed. But I continued to fail, and fail, and fail. But it didn't matter, because you know what? There's an old saying, you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're gonna get a haircut. So you will catch a break, and I did catch a break. Last year, I did a play called Fences on Broadway. But here's the kicker. It was at the Court Theater. It was at the same theater that I failed that first audition 30 years prior. The point is, every graduate here today has the training and the talent to succeed. But do you have the guts to fail? If you don't fail, you're not even trying. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did.
And once you have a family, you start taking risks not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out. So now is the time to do that before you have those obligations. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it.
When you're building something new, there's going to be mistakes. And it's important to recognize those mistakes, acknowledge them, and take corrective action. And the success of a company is very much more about how quick are you to fix the mistakes, not will you make mistakes.
Or admit the mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you see the difference between a startup that is successful and one that is not, and it's because the successful one, they both made mistakes, but the successful one recognize the mistakes, fix them very quickly, and the unsuccessful one tries to deny that the mistakes exist. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I like failure. I mean, who likes failure? It's terrible. But if you only do things that are certain to succeed, then you're only going to be doing very obvious things.
I mean, I think there's like some entropic basis for this. Like, there are many more ways to fail than to succeed. So you have to explore. I mean, particularly like for a rocket, there's like 1,000 ways a thing can fail, and like one way it can work. So you could have a lot of rocket failures to explore all the ways in which you could fail. So failure is not a big stigma. So it's like if you try hard and it doesn't work out, that's okay. Like, you can learn from that and do another company, and it's not a big deal.
It's very important to seek out, to actively seek out and listen very carefully to negative feedback. And this is something that people tend to avoid because it's painful.
Yeah.
But I think this is a very common mistake, is to not actively seek out and listen to negative feedback.
A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends. Usually your friends know what's wrong, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want to hurt you. So they'll say, oh, I would encourage my friend, so I'm not going to tell him what I think is wrong with this product.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean your friends are right, but very often they are right. And you at least want to listen very carefully to what they say.
When friends get a product, I say, look, don't tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. And because otherwise your friend is not going to tell you what he doesn't like. He's going to say, oh, I love this and that, and then leave out the this is the stuff I don't like list. Because he wants to be your friend, it doesn't want to offend you. So you really need to sort of coax negative feedback. And you know that if somebody is your friend, or at least not your enemy, and they're giving you negative feedback, then they may be wrong, but it's coming from a good place. And sometimes even your enemies give you good negative feedback.
If you're creating a company or if you're joining a company, the most important thing is to attract great people. So either join a group that's amazing, that you really respect, or if you're building a company, you've got to gather great people. I mean, all a company is a group of people that have gathered together to create a product or service. And so depending upon how talented and hardworking that group is, and the degree to which they are focused cohesively in a good direction, that will determine the success of the company. So do everything you can to gather great people if you're creating a company.
When you hire people, or really what you're trying to do, when you hire people, that just means you're convincing people to join you in the endeavor. You should hire people that are also passionate about what you're doing. So it's not just that they're not just there for the salary. They really need to care about what they're doing, and then they will stay during the dark times.
If you're going to create a company, you have to come up with a product or service that you think would be compelling, that would serve some need. And then really a great company is just built around great product or service. That's the whole purpose of a company, is to propagate that product or service and put it in the hands of people who would find it useful. And so I think that's the main thing, is try to think of the most useful thing you could do for your fellow human beings, and then a company is the process of scaling that up and in scope, increasing that in scope and scale.
When you're trying to create a company, what you're really trying to do is organize a group of people to do something useful. Something useful is as measured by other people who are the consumers of your products and services. This may seem like an obvious thing, but often people will organize groups into a company that doesn't produce something useful.